I noticed that at Stone College, this topic is not really studied sometimes. It's mentioned a lot and it comes up a lot, but I wanted to get into it a lot more. And I wanted to look at this in this particular course because it fits into where we've been up to so far. We spoke already about Adam Rishon, Chava, and we spoke about the milchama between them, and then we got into the tikkun, which involved the mitzvot, and that took us into the different reasons for the mitzvot, and that took us into last class. We did a crash course on kashrut. This is not going to be a crash course. We're going to do 2 to 3 classes on this topic, and it's going to be Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, and looking at the different sources as to why, where, when. In order to understand Jewish thought, in order to understand this course, we have to understand the central importance of the land of Israel to the Jewish people, as it has been for thousands of years. Okay? It's really not going to make much sense to look at what's happening politically in the world today without understanding the spiritual roots of the land of Israel. So this is another packet. We're going to begin on section 1, which is page 2, please. And let's go through this together. Yes, I have more packets. And we just walked in. You're going to need a packet. There you go, Sarah. There you go. There you go. Another one for the back. Okay, let us begin at the beginning. The first time we see a reference, it's a coded reference, but it's a reference to Eretz Yisrael, goes 800 BCE, the time of Avraham Avinu, and we're going to see that Avraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov and Moshe Rabbeinu and Yoshua, all of them are promised the land. We'll see why that promise had to be repeated many times. It couldn't just be mentioned once. That is not a coincidence, it's for a reason. We know that Avraham Avinu was told to leave Ur Kasdim, and he went to Haran, and then he went to Canaan. What's Canaan? Canaan is the land of Israel before it became the land of Israel. It is the physical, geographical location. When you see the word Canaan, you know basically it is the physical, geographical location. Yisrael, or Eretz Yisrael, is what it will be called later, and that has many different connotations to just the geographical land. But even Avraham Avinu was not told where he was going initially. It says, Vayom Hashem el Avram, Lech Lecha. This, according to many commentators, is the first test of the, how many tests of Abraham? 10. 10 tests. Okay, you had to go, Mi'arzcha, from your land, Umi Melatacha, and from your birthplace, Beit Avicha, from the home of your father, El Ha'aretz Asher Areka, to the land I'm going to show you. V'aselecha legoy gadol. It's over there, in that land that I'm going to talk to you about, where you're going to become a great nation. Something about this land that is going to make you and your descendants great. V'avarcha, and I'm going to bless you. V'agadla shemcha, and I'm going to make your name great. V'yabracha, and your name is going to become a blessing. Or you'll become a blessing. What does that mean? Yeah? They bless their children in his name. But what else does it mean about Avraham Avinu and the power of blessing? Hashem said, up to this point, I am the one who gives the ability to give blessings. I'm now going to give you, Avraham Avinu and your descendants, the ability to give blessings. You will become a source of blessing. And whoever blesses you will be blessed, and whoever curses you will be cursed. This is one of the reasons many of the Christians evangelicals are very into the Jewish people today. One of the reasons. We'll talk more about that later in the course. But it's interesting. So he was told that's where you're going to go, and that's the location. You thought that's enough. But then Yitzchak is told the same thing. V'yara elav Hashem v'yomer al ter Mitzrayma sheken ba'aretz asher amar alecha. God appeared to Yitzchak and said, live in this land, right? Go be'eretz hazot v'yeh imcha v'averchas. I'll be with you, I'll bless you. Ki lecha l'zerecha, because of you and your descendants attended kol ha'aretz. I'm going to give you this entire land. Hakel v'akimoti et ha'shavua asher nishbati l'Avraham avicha. And you know that shavua, that promise I made with Avraham Avinu? I'm making the same one with you. Why did he have to give another bracha? He already told Avraham Avinu his descendants will get the land. Why did he have to give it to Yitzchak as well? Why did Yitzchak need to be reassured or informed and promised that he would be given the land of Israel? Right, because Avraham had another son called Ishmael. Had it just stayed with Avraham, you might have thought correctly that Ishmael would get the land of Israel. Right? But that's not what it was meant to be. So he had to say, Avraham, you get it, but it goes directly through your son, Yitzchak. He's going to get the land himself. Actually, the connection between Yitzchak and the land of Israel is very, very strong. So strong that Yitzchak was not permitted to leave the land of Eretz Yisrael. After the Akedah, he became so kadosh, he became so holy, he became a korban tamimah, a perfect offering, that you don't see Yitzchak leaving Eretz Yisrael after the Akedah. He stays there. But his son, Yaakov, does, and Hashem promised the land to Yaakov as well. Yaakov, God appeared to him in Padan Aram, and he gave him a bracha. And then he says, amazing. You're no longer going to be called Yaakov. Ki im Yisrael, your name is going to change to Israel. From now on, Yaakov gets changed. Now, Yaakov is different to Yitzchak and Avram in one very important way. Yitzchak had a son called Esau. Had it just stopped at Yitzchak, you would have thought, Esau gets the land of Israel, but he doesn't get the land of Israel. How do we know that? Because it was given directly again to Yaakov. And Yaakov, his name Shem Yisrael, that becomes his name, because his name represents his mission. And the land itself is going to end up being called that as well. Why? Because Yaakov, Rashi says, his mita is shalem, his bed was complete, meaning all his descendants end up becoming the Jewish people, the Shvatim, the Shiftei Ka, and the tribes end up inheriting the entire land of Israel. We're going to divide the land of Israel into the Shvatim, into the tribes, which are all going to be the descendants of Yaakov. Okay? It doesn't stop that. We eventually go to Mitzrayim. We're in Mitzrayim for how long? How many years in Mitzrayim? 210 years. Although Avram was told you were there for 400 years, you can start that clock from the birth of Yitzchak, because it says Zarecha, your children will be slaves, right? And Yitzchak was already held by that. However, as a people, from when we entered to when we left, it was 210 years. Okay? Redu, it says. 210 is hinted at. And then Moshe Rabbeinu comes, right at the end of this exile, and he says, we've got to get out. Now, many people think that we get out of Mitzrayim because we're slaves there and we need to be free. But that's a mistake. We were taken out of Mitzrayim for one main reason. Well, two. Receive the Torah. Interestingly, outside of the land of Israel, which is another discussion off now, but we will have a discussion, why the Torah had to specifically be given outside of the land of Israel. Okay? And that was plan A. And then take that Torah with us into the land of Israel. Okay? That's why Hashem took us out of Egypt. Just what we said so far. Just the basic few verses we looked at, the promise to Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, we'll see Moshe as well. We're going to see that the land of Israel is central to who we are as a people. It's not some cute thing. And we already mentioned that 53% of the mitzvot can only be performed in the land of Israel. So this Torah thing only makes sense. And we're going to see the Ramban is going to have a very famous statement on this, where he's going to say that really the Torah is only for the land of Israel. And keeping mitzvot outside of Israel is just practice. A wild Ramban. And he's fairly unique in this. He actually lists living in Israel as one of the Tarek mitzvot, interestingly enough. Moving to Israel. Okay? It's unusual, but fascinating. And he actually lived it. He moved to Eretz Yisrael after leaving Spain, ended up dying soon afterwards. That's why it says in Shemot, Exodus chapter 3, verse 8, Gimel Ched Va'ered Le'etzilo Miyad Mitzrayim. I'm going to come and I'm going to take you out of Egypt. Lahaloto min haaretz, hahu, to take you out of this land. El Eretz Tova. I'm going to take you to a really good land. This place is great. Hashem's describing it. If God calls it good, it probably is. Verachava, and it's wide. El Eretz Zavat, Chalav Udavash, a land flowing with milk and honey. What's the milk? The milk of, what does Rashi say? Actually, the Gemara says, I take it back. It predates Rashi. Oh no, who was in the Gemara? I think we're going to see it in a second. I think I brought it down. The milk of, I think it's a trick question, right? It is. Milk of goats. And the honey of figs. That's right. See, one of the Talmud was walking around and he saw the beautiful, and he said, this is what Kodesh Baruch was speaking about. This beautiful abundance that was flowing through the streets. So the land of Israel we have so far is promised to the patriarchs through the line of Yitzchak and Yaakov. The reason we left Egypt, Hashem says, I'm taking you out to go there. It's not a one-way journey. Okay, it took 40 years. I get it. But that's where we're going to end up. Who took us into Israel? Did Moshe Rabbeinu have the merit taken us to Eretz Yisrael? No! How many times did Moshe Rabbeinu pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to go into the land of Israel? 515. 515 times. Makes much of Vet Chanan. I think he implored. And eventually Hashem said, stop, because eventually I'll have to let you in, and I can't let your mission. But Yoshua, Moshe Rabbeinu's greatest disciple, not his kids, Yoshua, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's greatest, Moshe Rabbeinu's greatest student, ends up doing it. And he has the merit of taking the Jewish people into the land of Israel. Okay? Now that entry, which is all described in the land in the book of Yoshua, takes how many years to conquer the land and divide it? 7 and 7. 7 years to conquer and 7 years to divide, of Chalukah, divided among the tribes. Okay? And the whole division itself was a miraculous event that's described how each tribe got its particular area, how big that area was, where it was in Israel, Transjordan, right? All this was decided at that time. Okay? And Hashem says to Yoshua, Moshe Avdi, mate, Moses, my servant, has died. Va'ata, now kum. Avaz Yaden, cross over the Jordan. You should know that this crossing of the Jordan, as described in the book of Joshua, was as miraculous, if not more miraculous, than the splitting of the Red Sea in the time of Moses. There were 6 miracles that happened to the Jewish people when they entered into the land of Israel. 6 miracles. Does anyone know what those miracles were? One of them involved flying people, according to one opinion. You know, when the sea split, when we left Egypt, it split like this, right? You saw the movie? Right? Like that. The book's better, by the way. However, when the Jordan split for the Jewish people to get into, which happened in the Jewish year, what year did we receive the Torah? It's the only years you have to learn. 2448. Will you do me a favor? This isn't art history. We went into Israel 40 years later, so it was 2480. It ain't brain surgery, people. I'm not even that good at math. I failed calculus at university. On purpose, by the way, but I did fail. By not studying. 2488, 40 years later. By the way, what was the date of it entering into Israel? What date did we leave Egypt? Yeah, okay. Pesach, right. Pesach. What was the date of Pesach? Right. 15th of Nisan. Right? We left Mitzrayim. Why do we know the date of the exit from Mitzrayim and not the date of the entry into Eretz Yisrael? There was a date, by the way. It was Yud Nisan, 10th of Nisan, right before Pesach. But why do we not know it? You know what's amazing? Because we're more into departures than we are into arrivals. That's the answer. That's the talking of itself. But that's the answer. Yud Nisan. 10th of Nisan, we went into Eretz Yisrael. 40 years later, 2488. Oh, we're learning a lot today. I feel good. Okay? One of the miracles that happened, the Jewish people went in, is the Jordan is a flowing river. Those who been in Eretz Yisrael, you know, you go down the tubes, right? It's a moving river. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the book of Joshua describes in great detail, stop the water, and a big mountain of water formed as the water came down and formed a big a big mountain of water you could see from miles off. So everyone knew the Jewish people were getting in. You see, you couldn't just stop the water by the Yam Suf because it's an ocean. But a flowing river could be stopped and it formed a big. And another of the 6 miracles that happened, I think there were 6, is that according to one opinion, the Levium went in, the water stopped, they went back outside, the Jewish people went through, entered in, and then the water returned, and they flew over, holding onto the Aaron.
I thought the water flowed backwards.
The what?
Did the water flow backwards?
Not that I know of. It stopped. It stopped and was held back.
No, I think it was like another miracle. Like another time.
Could be. It could be. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Joshua, Yoshua, Kol Makom, any place. Asher Tikra Tidrach Kavra Gleichem, your foot goes on. Bo Lechem Natanav, I'm going to give it to you. Kasher Debat El Moshe, like I promised to Moshe. Midbar Valavanon. Now this is the original dimension of the land of Israel, which is much bigger, right, than we have it today. Right? Eretz Israel went all up to Lebanon, all the way down, including bits of Sinai. By the way, when Mashiach comes, we'll see there were 7 nations, the 7 Canaanite nations that lived in the land of Israel at that time. Originally, it was meant to be 10. There are 3 missing that are not mentioned. We'll see when we get to Mashiach, that's going to be added on. When the Jewish people return to Eretz Yisrael, we'll see this big part of the whole Messianic story and drama. That's going to be added. Eretz Yisrael is going to be massive, including chunks of other existing lands. It's not PC to say it, but it's AC. It's not politically correct, it's absolutely correct. Okay? Now, Midbar, Valavanon Azev, Nahar Gadol from the big river, Nahar Parat, Kol Eretz, Achitim V'Adiyam Gadol, to the great ocean, B'var Shemesh Yeh Gvulchem. That's how big it's going to be. Okay? So it's given all of that. Yeah?
So people were living in the land at that time?
Yes, there were 7 nations, the 7 Canaanite nations, they were living in the land at that time. And those nations were offered to stay. This book of Josh talks about it. If they renounced, they didn't. They came to attack the Jewish people. One did, the Gidoni, ended up staying, lying, and making a false pact with Yoshua, which he kept anyway, and then remained. But there were nations there that had to be driven out. They weren't totally driven out as they should have been.
Kind of sounds like the land people were living in and then taken.
This is the land that Kadosh Baruch Hu promised. You know what? That, I believe, is the question of Rashi. Rashi has a fascinating question, and what's amazing about it is that the answer to the question is going to be about Eretz Yisrael, but it's found at the beginning of the Torah. The first Rashi on Chumash discusses this exact point. Let's look inside. Exactly what you're asking me. What's your name? Nacham. You see, so far back there, I don't get to learn your name. Okay, but now you got it. Let's go to the first pasuk in the Torah, which seemingly has got nothing to do with Eretz Yisrael whatsoever, right? What's the first pasuk in the Torah telling us? Hashem created the heavens and the earth. Look at this amazing Rashi. First Rashi in Chumash, it's a big one. Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'haaretz, God created the heavens and the earth. This, says Rashi, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. Says Rabbi Yitzchak. Who's Rabbi Yitzchak? Rashi is quoting. I think it's the only time he quotes him. Some say it's actually his father. He wanted to begin the Torah by quoting his father. Some people dismiss that. Some say no. He opened the Torah with a quote of his father. Lo hayat tzarich. Follow inside. We're on page 3 in note 6. Lo hayat tzarich la'atchilat Torah. The Torah did not have to begin ela me'achodesh zelachem, from the first mitzvah. What's the first mitzvah that was given to the Jewish people in totality? Nope, that was given to Adam HaRishon, to the Jewish people in totality. Rosh Chodesh, to count the months, to set up a calendar. That is the first mitzvah that was given. The first mitzvah to mankind was Puravu. By the way, some say that wasn't the first mitzvah, some say that was just the blessing to have kids. But the first mitzvah was actually given in Mitzrayim to start the calendar. HaChodesh Hazelachem, to track the months according to the lunar calendar, Rosh Chodesh, and to keep it in line with the solar calendar. So Rashi asks, quotes Rabbi Yitzchak, and says, why did the Torah begin with that? Why did the Torah begin with, what's the idea of the Torah? To give us the mitzvah. Then start with the first mitzvah, which is HaChodesh Hazelachem. That's Rashi's question. She mitzvah rishona shenatzivu. The Kadosh Baruch Hu commanded us. Does everyone hear Rashi's question? Right? Umat tam patach b'Bereshit. Then why do you have to begin all those verses earlier in a whole different sefer called Bereshit? What a weird question. But that's Rashi's opening question. This is a long Rashi. This is the piece that we want to focus on. And then Rashi gives an even stranger answer. And he says like this, he's going to quote from Tehillim. Mishum, let me tell you why God began the Torah with creation of the world and not with the first mitzvah given to the Jewish people. Mishum, Koach Ma'asav Yigiliyamo, he wanted to tell the world and his people about his tremendous power. Letet lehem nachlat goyim, to give them the nachala, the inheritance of the nations. She'im yomru umat olam, that if the non-Jewish nations turn around to us, l'Israel, and says, listen atem, you are thieves. This is Rashi speaking. You are thieves. Shekavashtem atzot shivat goyim, you conquered the land of 7 nations, the 7 Canaanite nations that lived in the land before the Jewish people got there. The nation's going to say, you guys are thieves. Hem omrim lehem. They're going to say around to them, back to them, Kol ha'eretz shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What are you talking about? The entire world belongs to Hashem. He decides who gets what. Hu bara, he created it. He gave it to whoever he felt was straight, who was good in his eyes. He gave it to them. They were then lacking. He then decided to take it from them. And God decides who gets which land. Lands swap owners through history. The land of Israel is probably the greatest example of one land that has been conquered by more nations than any other land that I know of. Different nations. And I give it to the Jewish people. As my Rebbe in Yeshiva as a kid used to say, it's a Pelatika Rashi, which means that is unbelievable. Why does the Torah begin in Bereshis and not in Shemot? I'll tell you why. And this is Rashi speaking at the beginning of the Torah, before there was even a world. Never mind Israel. And he's like, you know why God started with the creation of the world? So you know that God created the world. And then God decides who gets what land, and we get the land of Israel. Now, I don't fully understand this Rashi, but there's something I do know about it, which is obvious. And that is, when Rashi speaks, he's not bringing different cute ideas. He's giving Peshat in the Pasuk. His understanding of the verse, right? Rashi's all about Peshat. You've learned that, yeah? That means in the first verse in the Bible, before the world even exists, encoded in that first verse is that the land of Israel belongs to the Jewish people, and that's going to be its ultimate destination. God decides who gets what. In the first verse, the world has been created, and by the way, you know why I want to mention this to you? Says Hashem, quoted by Rashi, because you're going to get this land. This land of Israel is really, really important. And it's really important that you get it. That's the most important thing. We're going to look at Joel the prophet when we discuss Mashiach extensively. And it's going to be fascinating when we get there. But you're only going to appreciate the whole Mashiach drama because a lot of it is going to be about the return of the Jewish people to the land of Israel. That's going to be one of the 7 aspects to the Messianic drama, and probably one of the most important. But you're going to appreciate if you don't understand why Israel's so important. Otherwise, it's got to Miami. Has anyone got any problems with Jews in Miami? No. Off we go. Wear a pink suit, play shuffleboard, and Shalom Al Yisrael. No. It ain't going to cut it. This whole story of world history begins at Bereshis with the land of Israel for the Jewish people, and it's going to end with Mashiach and Tchiyat HaMetim in the land of Israel. We start there, we get kicked out 4 times, and we're going to end back there. Right? Says Joel the prophet, and I'm jumping ahead a bit to the Messianic drama, so we start at Avraham and end at the end. V'kabasti et kol hagoyim, I will gather all the nations, v'ovadatem el emek Yehoshaphat, and I'm going to bring them down to the valley of Yehoshaphat, v'nishpatzi yimam, and I'm going to judge them. Sham el ami v'nachalati Yisrael, asher pazru hagoyim v'et artzi chalku. Because of my possession Israel, what they did to them, they dispersed the nations, and they divided up my land. They took what belongs to us, Yenachama. It's our land from time immemorial. They took it away from us, and And this is the land promised to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They knew it was our land. It was a given. That's why they came to fight us to keep us out. We were then kicked out of Israel a number of times, each one in its own way. And eventually we're going to return. We're going to return, and there's going to be a judgment, and the judgment's going to happen in the land of Israel. It actually goes even further, because the resurrection of the dead, Chet HaMetim, is also going to occur in the land of Israel as well. Actually, if you're buried outside of Israel, says Rashi elsewhere from the Gemara, you're going to have to roll in little caverns and tunnels until you pop up boop, in the land of Israel. Whatever that means. I'm just telling what they say. Okay. What is it about the land of Israel? What is it about this land? Well, first of all, geographically, what's special about the land of Israel? What's special about it? We read online on the internet all the bad stuff about it. Let's talk about some of the good stuff about it. By the way, we learn from the Meraglim that you should not speak Lashon Hara about the land of Israel. The reason the Jewish people were prevented from going in at the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, not Moshe Rabbeinu, he was prevented for hitting the rock, which is another discussion. But the Jewish people, because of the spies, the Meraglim, who spoke Lashon Hara. One of the first things you have to learn from the Torah is you cannot speak badly about Eretz Yisrael. You know the rabbis used to walk around Eretz Yisrael? And they used to pick up dirt, the Gemara tells us, and pick up garbage, so that people shouldn't say, ugh, Israel's so dirty. Lashon Hara. Or they used to give classes. These are the great Tanaim and Amoraim in the land of Israel. And they would teach these classes in a place which wasn't too hot, so that people would say, Israel, ugh, it's just so hot. That's Lashon Hara. You can't talk about bad. It's the land that was promised your ancestors. Talk bad about it. What happens? It gets taken away. You talk smack about something, it gets taken away from you. That's only one reason. Right? So Lashon Hara in Israel is important. You've got to talk good things about Israel. You want to talk bad about China? Geigazon. You want to talk bad about France? Probably should. You want to talk about any country? That's fine. But do not talk bad about the land of Israel. Okay? That's what the Meraglim taught us. That's a whole episode in the Torah. So let's have a look at some of the... Yes? You can talk about the Jews. That's a whole different thing. Talk about Jews and the way it's run. Yeah, that's different, right? That would be different. You can't talk about Jews. That's Lashon Hara. Speaking about people's also a problem.
About the way Israel's
Yeah. If that wasn't to be allowed, we'd all be in very big trouble because that's what we do, really, isn't it? Yeah, but you have to be very, very careful, though.
It's so gross.
I'm not listening. My ears are burning.
You know, I said that to my cab driver in Israel. I was like, it's so hot. He's like, you can't say that.
He said that, yeah.
Why? He's like, it's Lashon Hara. That's so
He's right. Don't, I love it. Dead Sea, love it. Oh, going into the water. It's like one big chicken soup. I love it. I can't get enough of it. I miss Israel, by the way. I have a teacher's class. I've got to get back.
You're not going to do this. I feel like you will.
Okay, I mean, I haven't been the past couple of years. I led a trip to Poland 2 years ago, and I did Italy this past summer, which was also nice, actually. But I'm Eretz Yisrael. I miss that.
I'm going to Israel.
I miss Israel. Okay, let's have a look what it says about the land of Israel. The land of Israel is described in a very positive way in the Torah itself. We're on page 4 with note 1. We're now in Devarim Chet, Deuteronomy 5. Okay? Remember, this is the 5-week speech Moshe Rabbeinu gives to the Jewish people before they enter into the land of Israel. So he's prepping them. All of Devarim is one long speech, and he's prepping them for the land of Israel. So whatever he says, basically, you should know this. All of Devarim is a passionate speech, a prep speech for the land of Israel. It's orientation. All right? Now, I know the idea of a 5-week speech by a rabbi is frightening to you, but Moshe Rabbeinu gave it, they were happy. I do 1 hour, they're ready to kill me. But hey, I guess that's what you get for not being Moshe Rabbeinu. Ki Hashem Elokecha, he says, your God is going to bring you Mevich al Eretz HaTova to the good land. You see, Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, it's good. Don't talk, it's a good land. Eretz Nachle Mayim, oh, there's streams of water, right? Einat v'tamod Yisim Abikam Bahar, and it's going to be springs of underground water coming forth from the valleys. Eretz Chita, there is wheat, Usaora, and there is barley, V'gefen, and there are grapes, Uta'ena, there are figs, V'rimmon, and pomegranates. What we refer to as the Shiva Minim. Learn them, I'm going to test you on them. Eretz Zayit Shemen Dvash. Oh, it's beautiful. There's olive oil, and there's date honey. Eretz Asher, Lo Miskenet Tochal Ba Lechem. It's not a place which is miserable where it's difficult to find bread. Lots of call, everything he wants there. Ashavanea Barzel, right? Lands of stones are iron, right? Tichsav Nechoshet, and like Kopa, Vachalta, Vesavata, Verachta. You're going to eat, you're going to be satisfied, and you're going to bless Hashem. What mitzvah do we learn out from those three words? What mitzvah Doraisa, the only Doraisa, well, one of the only Doraisa brachot that we have? Berach Hamazon. That's what we mentioned in Eretz Yisrael, Berach Hamazon. I was eating in New York, and I was eating produce from New York. You still talk about Eretz Yisrael in it. Right? And when you say Alam Michya, right, on the Sheva Minim, same thing. You mention Eretz Yisrael, you mention Yerushalayim, you're always mentioning this land. Et Hashem alakecha l'Eretz hatov Hashem, it's Allah, which God promised your forefathers, given to you. The reason we're given Eretz Yisrael is not in our merit, in the merit of our forefathers. Here's that Gemara I mentioned to you. So basically Moshe Rabbeinu is talking well about this beautiful land. He's talking well about it. Rami bar Yechezkel ikle b'nei Barak. Rami, the son of Yechezkel, traveled to Bnei Barak. He got in the monit and off he went. And he says, Chazan inhu izeh, we saw these goats, the achlo tutei te'inei, and we saw he was sitting under fig trees, natif, and it was dripping dufsha, this honey, iteinei from these te'ina from the figs, v'chalva, and there was milk, tayef minayu coming out of these goats. Ume'irav, and they were erev, they were mu'urav, they were mixing together. Mu'urav mixed together. Bahadi adadi, one with the other. Amar, hainuz vat chalav u'devash. This is the place, the land of milk and honey that the Torah itself spoke about. Right? A land of milk and honey and beauty and excess. Everything you need is there. If you merit it. We're going to see the land of Israel different from any other land. We'll see that Kadosh Baruch Hu's eyes are on the land of Israel from one end of the year, mitchilat hashana, sof shana, to the end of the year. It's dependent upon our actions within the land of Israel. Okay? And that's the way it was for a long time. When the Jewish people are on the land of Israel, it blossoms and flourishes. The land itself gives off its fruit and its vegetables and its beauty when the Jewish people are there. And look at Josephus, right? Josephus, the Jewish historian in the Jewish wars, right? He says, for the whole area is excellent. Crops, pasturage, are rich in trees of every kind, so that by its fertility invites even those least inclined to work the land. In fact, every inch of it has been cultivated by the inhabitants. Nothing goes to waste. We figured out how to use every part of Eretz Yisrael. This is towards the end of the Second Temple. It is thickly covered in towns, thanks to the natural abundance of soil, many villages, so densely populated, right? We have 15,000 inhabitants in a small town. Then the Jewish people were exiled, and it was barren until Mark Twain arrived in Eretz Yisrael, in Innocents Abroad, and described it as, he was a non-Jew, as a dry land, uncultivated, and he liked the Jews, by the way. I think his son-in-law was a Jew. Right? And he spoke about the Jews. And he says it's dry and barren, uncultivated. The Jewish people leave, it loses the bracha. The bracha comes with the people on their land. That is the connection. The Jews are there, Gush Katif, out it comes. They leave, gornished, megornished, as they say. Okay? That's the Maharsha. Turn over the page. Says the Maharsha, one of the commentators back of the Gemara, Kol Zman She'ein Yisrael al matam. All the time the Jewish people are not on their land. Ein haaretz notna paratea. The land does not give its fruits. Kedarka, the right way. Aval kishetachzor. But when they return, and by the way, we're going to see one of the proofs that Mashiach is coming, as we're going to see, is, as the prophets speak about again and again and again, the blossoming of the land of Israel. When you see the land give off its fruits, you know, and we'll see why that has to be one of the signs. Why? Why should it be? Why can't it be, I don't know, clouds forming a shape or something? Because there's something integral about the agricultural giving off of the land and the Jewish people coming. We'll see when we get there, God willing. So put that in your hippocampus. When we get there, we'll discuss it. And he says, when they return, le temperatea, zeu kates magula. You see that's going to be the end of Galut, when you see the land give off its fruits and vegetables once more. By the way, once again, I'll tell you, 100 years ago, the land of Israel, says Mark Twain, was nothing. One big dust bowl. We came back, we plant, and the land gives off its fruit. Shekarav lava, zman geula sheyechazru Yisrael ad matan. You see the fruits and vegetables come back to the land of Israel, the Jews coming back. It's connected. Jews in the land gives off its produce. Jews outside, nothing. It's a sign of the other. Okay? And that's why the Meraglim specifically brought the spies that Moshe Rabbeinu sent into Israel, or the Jewish people requested and were permitted to go in, brought out fruit. That was the sign. What fruit did they bring? They brought anavim, they brought grapes, and tainim, and they were massive, big, beautiful fruits. They took the land. Now they used that fruit. How Jewish is this? They used the blessing of the fruit that was there because of the amazingness of the land to entice them to want to go in. And what do they say? What should they have said? And what did they say? They said, it's a land of freaks. Look, even the fruit gives off, the land gives off freakish fruit. All right? What they should have said is, oh, wow, are we in for a good supper? They didn't. They spoke Lashon Hara. So they got a blessing, and they made out as though it was a curse. You have something good in your life, and you're like, oh, it's actually terrible. It's a bracha. Nah, it's not a bracha, it's terrible. Right? That was the Lashon Hara they spoke about Israel. And it came through insulting the fruit of the land.
How was the land so fertile if the Jews weren't?
Because HaKadosh Baruch was getting the land ready for them. Hashem wanted you go in and see the amazing land that's in there.
Is the land right now considered not fertile?
You tell me, is the land of Israel fertile today? 5776/7, 2016? Oh yeah.
So,
Highly fertile.
So Mashiach's coming.
Here we go. We'll see why that's the thing. Okay. Now the land of Israel, look at note 5. Yeah, we're going to go into that. We're going to see what the prophets talk about that. There's a clear sign. One of the clear signs of Mashiach is imminent, God willing. According to the prophets. Don't take my word for it. I'm going to show you the prophets. You're going to see all the sources inside. This course is about sources. Okay? And it says, the Maharsha comments on the statement of the Gemara, that Shebeit HaMikdash Gevor Mikol Eretz Yisrael, that the land of Israel is higher than any other land. The Eretz Yisrael, and the land of Israel, Gevor Mikol Eretzot. He says that if you look at the land of Israel, actually you look at the world, you'll see something very unusual. You'll see that the Beit HaMikdash was built on a mountain, it's very, very high. But then he says that Eretz Yisrael is at the top. What's unusual about that statement? A ball doesn't have a top, does it? Which way, depends which way you're holding it, becomes the top. So what does that mean? So that already is an interesting discussion among the commentators, which we shall see. One opinion is the world's a ball. It's a kador. Yeah. It's a ball. Oh, sorry. Ball. Ball? How do you say it?
Ball.
Ball.
Sorry.
No. Actually, you should be. That's not your fault. You're born in America. There is Yisrael, Gevor Mikol Eretzot. The land of Israel is higher than any other land. Sha'olam hukat tapuach. The land is like an apple. Oh, just in time for Rosh Hashanah. The land is like an apple. Umakom Beit HaMikdash hu merkaz olam. And therefore, the place of the Beit HaMikdash could be seen at the top of the sphere. Therefore, we say traveling to Israel means you are making aliyah. Okay? He's saying, well, it depends how you look at it. We just say for us, it's a geographical statement. Everything's on top. And when you say Eretz Yisrael is over here, right? In Yerushalayim, you go up to Yerushalayim, and the Beit HaMikdash is up there, and that's Beit HaMikdash. So it's a geographical statement. That's why wherever you're going to Eretz Yisrael, geographically, you're making an aliyah. You're going up. That's just how we base the world in a way that's the Maharsha. The Maharal gives a second interpretation of this idea that the land of Israel is on top. And he says, no, this statement of the Gemara is not a geographical statement, it's a spiritual statement. Eretz Yisrael, Gevor Mikol Eretzot, the land of Israel is higher than the land of Israel, Mikol Eretz Yisrael. I'll tell you why this says the Maharal from Prague. I prayed in his synagogue a number of times, very beautiful. V'zeh ki Eretz Yisrael kadosh Mikol Eretzot. It's not a geographical statement of which way you look at the world. Eretz Yisrael is called Eretz HaKodesh. It's Kadosh. Right? Anything that is Kadosh is considered above. Anything that is not Kadosh is considered below. That's what he says. It's like Eretz Yisrael Kadosh U'Kol. It's holier than any other place. Or Beit HaMikdash Kadosh U'Kol Yisrael. And the holiest place in Eretz Yisrael is Beit HaMikdash. Right? That's why wherever you are, we pray towards Eretz Yisrael. And if in Eretz Yisrael you pray towards the Beit HaMikdash, and towards Yerushalayim, and in Yerushalayim towards the Beit HaMikdash, and in Beit HaMikdash towards the Kodesh Kodashim. Right? Everything focuses into that one point. He's saying because that's a elevation in Kedusha. Therefore, Eretz Yisrael is considered to be the highest. Kadosh Elyon. Because Kedusha is high, hu echomri hu shafal, and wherever it's physical is low. And even if you tell me the world is like a ball, which it is, Shavim Kol Tzad is equal on all sides. Yochol laniach barosh v'kol makom min hakador. You can put whatever you want on top. Mikol makom nevertheless. Yesh laniach rosh hakador. You can put the top of the ball, Eretz Yisrael, on top. Mipnei shedar kedusha, because that is where the kedusha is, and kedusha is high. When you make aliyah, you're physically going up because we can put the ball anywhere we want, but you're spiritually going up as well. That's the Maharal. Shumit ale al sha'aretz, because Eretz Yisrael has kedusha more than anywhere else. So when you're going to Eretz Yisrael, you're going up to that place. That's the aliyah I was speaking about. It's a statement of kedusha, not just geographics. Therefore, Mipnei Zeh is the Maharal, page 6, note 7. Yamar kasher holech al Eretz Yisrael. What do we say to a person who goes to Eretz Yisrael? Shu oleh. It's going up. Hu oleh. It's going up. You make aliyah. That's how we know it. Making aliyah literally means to go up. Right? And that's the Maharsha who says, we put it at the top, and the Maharal's maybe explaining it and saying, because Eretz Yisrael is a high Kedusha. High Kedusha means there's an elevation that's going up. And how much more so when you go up, L'regel, to Yerushalayim. Because first of all, Yerushalayim is mountains. The Beit HaMikdash is on a mountain. You're going up. So there's elevation. And up, mountains in the Torah represents places of teaching. Right? So Har Sinai, Beit HaMikdash, the Akedah was on Mount Moriah. Right? This is always there as a place of teaching. And low places like a Midbar are a place of spiritual death. What is high is always a place of goodness and holiness, and that which is low is a place of barrenness and death. Yeah. So why did Hashem give us the land? What is the true purpose? Here's the true purpose, land of Israel, to be, as Theodor Herzl told us, a safe haven. What was Herzl's first choice for the Jewish people to live in? Right? Where did he want the Jewish people to go to? Because he was with the safe, those who've learned Zionistic history, the safe haven theory. Uganda. And then the Zionists, they said, no, you can't go to Uganda. He's like, okay, I made a mistake. Can't go to Uganda. That is too hot for Jews, all right? Instead, we'll go to Argentina. Who said that? Excellent, right. And they're like, Argentina, nah. Argentinian. And he said another, and they said, no, none of these places are good. They said, you go with the safe haven theory, Eretz Yisrael. Well, according to Herzl, are we safe in Eretz Yisrael than elsewhere? You have to push a little bit to say that, Hasn't been the safest place for the Jewish people. And that never was given as a reason in the Torah. Herzl, although he looked like a religious person, or a hipster, depends how you look at him. However, he did not come from a spiritual root. I don't even stepped in a synagogue his entire life. And his kids all married out. I don't think there's any descendants of Herzl right now. However, it doesn't mean he didn't do a favor for the Jewish people. I'm not saying it wasn't the tool Hashem used to help us get back there. One suicide. Yeah, it was very tragic, actually. However, the Torah never said, go there to be safe. Did we? We saw a lot of sources from the Torah about it. What did it say about the land of Israel? The first thing is, it's good. It's a good land. There's lots of natural amenities for you there. And Avraham Avinu goes, he didn't say go to Israel to be safe. Stay in Ur Kasdim. He was very safe in Ur Kasdim. Right? When he got to Israel, all the fighting and the wars began. Avram Avinu's life, Master of Similar Banim, became a difficult place in Eretz Yisrael. That can't be the reason why we go to Eretz Yisrael. Then what is the reason? And we already saw the Maharal is telling us it's a place of Kedusha, a place of holiness. Look at the Devarim. The Torah itself tells us. There's no secrets here. Right? All Herzl had to do was open up the Bible and read through it. Even in the English, you would have figured it out. Zvazot ha-mitzvah, chokim mishpatim, these are the laws, the mitzvah, the chokim, the statutes, mishpatim, and the judgments. Asher tzivah Hashem aleichem, that God has commanded you, lelamed etchem lasot ba'aretz, to do these mitzvot in the land. Why are we taken to the land of Israel? Because that's the best place to do the mitzvot. The Torah, you can't argue with it. That's what the Torah says. Asher atem ovrim shama l'rishta, which you're going to go and you're going to inherit. It says, chapter 12 in Deuteronomy, verse 1, Devarim Yud Bet Aleph, these are the decrees on that you shall perform in the land that Hashem gave you. Not to go hang out in Elat, although Elat's lovely. Right? Not sit on the beach in Tel Aviv, it's also a nice beach. Right? That's not what we're giving it to you. The reason is to perform the mitzvah. It's there for spiritual advancement. Hashem himself is telling us. There's no secrets. Spiritual advancement. All the time that you live on the land. All the time that you merit to live on the land. Let's have a look at the Ramban. The Ramban, remember, is Mr. Israel. I mean, every rabbi is Mr. Israel, right? You can't be against Israel and be an observant Jew. It's impossible. You're negating the entire Torah. How we live there, we can discuss. Who runs the country, we can discuss as well. But the fact that Eretz Israel is Kadosh, no Jew can dispute that. That the land of Israel is the homeland of the Jewish people, you can't dispute that. Amrei B'Sifri. Now the Ramban is going to list moving to Israel as one of the mitzvot of the Torah. And he's going to go as far as, this is a very famous Ramban. Okay, many of you have heard this before possibly, but let's look at it inside so you can see it firsthand. He's going to say that actually the mitzvot are only for the land of Israel. And when you're doing mitzvot outside of Israel, it's just like rehearsal. That doesn't mean you aren't being rewarded for them. He lived outside of Israel for many years and he kept Torah mitzvot. Now he wasn't a secular Jew, chas v'shalom, outside of it, who lived in Spain, right? However, he's saying really, outside of Israel, it's just preparation. Amr B'Sifri, Vavarata Meira, right? If your hearts go astray and you bow to other gods, you'll be banished. The land of Israel, says Rashi, listen to this very interesting analogy. Actually, the Torah gives the land of Israel. And I'll give you the analogy of Rashi. I don't think I brought it down, but it's very important. The land of Israel is Yokiad Yoshvea. It vomits out its inhabitants, the Torah tells us. The Torah itself tells us the land vomits out its inhabitants. And Rashi over there gives a following explanation. He says you have a stomach that's very sensitive. If you put the wrong food in the stomach, what happens? Whoop! It comes back out. The land of Israel is sensitive like a sensitive stomach. If the wrong actions are performed on the land of Israel, says Rashi, on that pasuk, the land itself ejects the inhabitants. The Canaanites lost their merit because of their behavior, specifically sexual immorality, on the land itself. The land cannot tolerate bad behavior, the land itself. And it vomits out. Obviously, it's Hashem doing it. And he uses other nations to kick us out. He needs a tool to do it. But the land itself, says Rashi, has that power. And that's what Ramban is telling us. We know that from Devarim that if you perform wrongly in the land itself will banish you from the land, the good land that Hashem gave you. Even so, that's what the Torah says. Even though, says Hashem, I'm going to kick you out of the land. You're going to go into galut. You're going to be kicked out. He says, you know what? Even though that's going to happen, you should still do the mitzvot when you're outside. Why? Amazing answer to the Ramban. So that when you return to the land of Israel, lo yu alechem chadashim, they won't be new things. You'll still be accustomed to perform them where they're meant to be performed because you were doing them outside. Let's just finish with the Ramban. I know this is an unbelievable Ramban. I don't understand it. I'm just reading it. Right, so, and he gives a mashal. So even the Ramban wanted to help us understand this. Because let me give you an analogy. La'adon, to a man, shekalas ishto, he gets kas, he gets angry with his wife, and she leaves to her father's house. Amala, he says to her, Hayom mitkasheshet, tachshitim, keep on your jewelry and the beautiful gifts I give you. Don't throw away the engagement ring. Don't throw away the wedding ring. Don't take all the lovely jewelry I gave you. Although you've left me or you've been removed to go live in your father's house, keep on the jewelry. Why? So that you're still connected to me through this jewelry that you are outside. What is the nimshal to the mashal? The nimshal is that the mitzvot are like beautiful tachshit and beautiful jewelry that we wear. And even though we are kicked out, we still wear them. Why do we still do these mitzvot? So that we come back to Israel, where you're really meant to be wearing that jewelry, doing those mitzvot. It won't be unusual. You'll be used to it. You know how to do them. Because otherwise, 2,000 years of exile, you're going to forget. And so the mitzvot we're able to do outside of Israel, which is not most of them, it's the minority, we still do them. So we still keep that connection. That is an unbelievable Ramban. Probably the most unbelievable Ramban in all of Torah. Yeah.
I feel like though all the mitzvahs are really just meant to be done in Israel, this is practice, then why don't we keep shooting in all the mitzvahs here? Because they're all practiced, then why?
Because some mitzvot can only be performed in the land of Israel. You can only be able to make the Mikdash, the land of Israel. Shemitah, the land of Israel, is the only land that needs to go through a 6-year work, 1-year fallow. That's the mitzvah, not on the person, on the land. The land itself needs rest. You can't pick up and say that land needs rest. It doesn't. If you want it, it's up to you. But that's more on the cheftza, on the object, than on the governor, on the person doing it. When you're in the land, you got to let the land rest. Yeah? You got to have a yovel and return land to its original owner. That's only in Eretz Yisrael. So you can't replace that. But tefillin, Shabbat. We'll see Shabbat's very important, by the way, in order to get us back. We'll get to that when we get there. That's going to be crucial. But we're not saying take the ones you do outside of Israel. Say the ones you're able to do, but yeah, otherwise only for Israel. Mina?
You know how you said Rashi says that the land will vomit out its inhabitants?
That the Torah says that.
Oh,
the Torah says it, and
Rashi
Rashi explains it,
okay.
and gives the analogy of the sensitive stomach. The Torah itself says, it vomits out its inhabitants.
So even bigger, the Torah says it, but how come there's so many terrible things that happen in Israel and those people still have the zechut of living there?
You're asking a very good question. I do not know the answer. I don't know how Kadosh Baruch Hu judges and decides when we stay, when we get kicked out. I just don't. All right? However, we do know that sexual immorality is connected to it, which is one reason before Avraham Avinu was allowed to go into Eretz Yisrael, he had to have a Brit Milah. That was his passport in. When the Jewish people entered with Yeshua, they had a Brit Milah. There's no coincidence that part of the body was referred to in reference to on the way in, meaning that's we have to work. That's an area that needs working on in the land itself. At what point does Hashem give up and kick those nations out?
So for now, we're supposed to think like those people they're meant to be there for now?
For now. For now, yeah. For now. Oh, we'll see a source on that, by the way. An unbelievable source I have over here. We're looking at that until the end of days. Actually, the Bnei Yishmael specifically, who actually give themselves Brit Milah, although they're not commanded to, and are very tsunua, in their dress at least, right? They get merit in Olam Hazeh, they get to hold the land, but we get it for Olam Haba. Mashiach comes. Unbelievable, right? We'll look at that source inside. There's no coincidence that they get it. Believe me, if it was a church on top, they would have been killed out already by the invading nations. Right? No one's messing around with that mosque, I tell you. Okay, let's look at the Piskei Shuv on this Ramban, and we'll finish up. I know we've done a lot today, but this is good stuff. Note 3 on page 7. Hinei, Haramban manem mitzvot zu b'klal mitzvot. The Ramban says something really amazing. You see, there's many people that listed all the Tariag mitzvot of the Torah, 613. Everyone knows there's 630 mitzvot, but not everyone agrees what actually makes up and constitutes the 613. That's the difference of opinion. The Rambam has his version, Sefer Chinuch has his version, and the Ramban has his version. What the Ramban does, quite incredibly, is lists making Aliyah as one of the Tarek mitzvot. That means you move to Israel, you fulfilled one of the mitzvot. You live in Israel, just being there itself, you're fulfilling a Torah mitzvah. That's pretty wild, no? Mikra, v'yarashtem otam v'yashavtem ba. Where does he get this from? Which pasuk? To the Ramban. It's got to be a pasuk. It's got to be gathered upon something. V'yarashtem otam, and you are going to inherit it. V'yashavtem ba, and you're going to dwell in it. Now that was told to the Bnei Israel before they entered. But he's saying, no, lav dafka, not specifically. That's for any Jew that moves to Eretz Israel. You do that, you're going to miss a doraisa. The others would say, Israel's the best place in the world. But it's a conduit. It's a hekatimsa. It's a cause and effect. You live there because that's to be able to do mitzvot. You get rewarded for those mitzvot. The Ramban is like, no. Actually, just the act of moving and living there itself is a mitzvah. Right? By the way, we'll see why leaving Israel and making what's referred to colloquially as making yuridah, right, is not so simple. You can't just leave. If you're living in Israel, you can't just leave. You've got to have reasons why. There's a few reasons why a person may be able to leave Israel. Finding a shidduch, parnasah, making a living, learning Torah, if they learn Torah outside better. But besides that, not so posher that you could just like leave Israel. Yeah.
Is this if you like officially make aliyah with the government? It's like going to Israel for a year or 2 or 3 to study.
Even then, not so posher. If you go for 1 year, come back. That's what pretty much everyone does. So over there, you assume you're coming back here to either get an education or something.
Like to go there.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm not saying to come back. Like,
you mean, is there a mitzvah? I think it means to reside there. Is what the Ramban talks about. It's still a mitzvah to be there. The Ramban, I think, means that I don't know. I think he means to actually settle in it.
Because some people do like sabbatical years. Is that?
That's an amazing thing. Is that the mitzvah the Ramban is speaking about? I'm not sure, but it's a wonderful mitzvah. Sure.
What happens if you settle there? You have citizenship there, and you come back.
The citizenship is irrelevant to this.
Oh,
When the Ramban went there, he didn't get a tu'dah and a chatima on his passport for he's in. Yalla, let's go. It wasn't like that, Just living there itself is the mitzvah, which he did.
Right, but I'm saying, let's say you live there for X period of time and you come back to a different country.
So he's saying that the Gemara, you need to have reasons to do that. It's not so simple.
So, like,
I mean, you can do it, but you got to. It's not. You just got.
What's the judgment exactly there?
You got to ask your LOR, your local Orthodox rabbi, right? You're in a place of kedusha, leaving kedusha. You got to have a good reason. Those 3 that we've mentioned are considered 3 adequate reasons, right, for making a living outside. You can't make a living in Israel, or shidduchim, right, or parnasah, or Torah. And those are considered to be. Yeah.
The thing I've always wondered about the parnasa thing, because I feel like for a lot of Jews in America, at least, that means for them like a mansion in Teaneck and a Lexus.
Okay, just so you know, for me, the dream is not a mansion in Teaneck and a Lexus, just so you know. Right now, I'm in Monty with a Honda, just so you know, put that clear over here.
Yeah.
But that should not be the goal of any Jew.
I know, but I'm just, okay,
Yeah.
fair enough, but like...
Are you saying the standard you were
what's the
expecting?
standard of parnasa?
That's a good question. That's a good question. It means to support yourself and give your kids a good Jewish Torah education. Right. I think that's what it means. Okay, that's on an individual basis. Right? It's different for everyone. But I think that's the basic minimum. It doesn't mean you have to have a high standard of living. Okay, so that's the Ramban. He's like, hey, the Ramban lists this as one as mitzvah, based upon that verse. Ki yishakula k'nekol mitzvot. And actually, we know that moving to Eretz Yisrael is equal to all the other mitzvot in the Torah. That statement is not used lightly. This mitzvah is equal to all the other mitzvot. I've only found it in one other location, maybe 2 actually. Shabbat is equal to the other mitzvot in the Torah. There's another one as well. I can't remember that now. Kedita b'sifri, as the Sifri, the Midrash says, the Gama Trud v'Adeshen, and the other commentators agree. V'adinimah kol kam b'kol netiv mishpat. Okay, this is the truth. And the others have agreed with it. That means the whole time you're in the land of Israel, you're fulfilling a Torah mitzvah according to the Ramban. Just in the land itself, And the Gemara tests this and says, every Daled Amot you walk in Eretz Yisrael is a mitzvah. And the Rambam brings that down, the halacha. Every 4 steps. When I heard this as a kid, when I was in Bnei Akiva growing up, I had this idea, and I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, mitzvah. What are these like? Yeah. You can walk around Manhattan all you want. Walk around Chicago all you want. Don't recommend it. Walk around Eretz Yisrael, every 4 steps, mitzvah. Okay?
Who said that?
That's the Pesach Shuvah on the Rambam. That's the Gemara. The Gemara says that. And the Rambam brings a halacha. Every Daled Amot, every walking Daled Amot in the Torah, in Eretz Yisrael, is a mitzvah. And the air itself makes you smart. Except when they're driving. Then they're nuts. But just walking around Israel, walking is different from driving. Driving in Israel, not pashut. Okay, 1 second, let's just finish this off. Hold on. Okay, that's the sifra at the bottom, same idea. We shall settle in it. Why do we settle it? To do the mitzvot. Okay? And the greatest mitzvah itself, that's why settling the land of Israel is equal to all the other mitzvot in the Torah. Okay. Oh, here's that Gemara. The Rambam brings La halacha. Kol hamahalech arba amot be'eretz Yisrael. Whoever walks 4 steps in Eretz Yisrael, muftach loshu ben olam haba. You get to go to the next world. That's wild. That is wild. And the Rambam brings it down in as a mitzvah. 153. Just walking the land itself gives you olam haba, and that's that Gemara. Unbelievable, right? It's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing, yeah.
So, okay, in terms of the Gemara, when it says 4 steps, boom, mitzvah, I mean, that's just not an exaggeration, it's just some sort of, like...
You're saying maybe it's a metaphor.
Yeah.
Because a person could be...
A metaphor, it's like, I'm so hungry I can eat a horse. I'm not actually going to eat a horse, I can't finish a horse, but I'm...
But what we do know is, you're hungry.
Yes.
So fine. We can say that just walking around of Israel is going to take you to Olam Haba. 4 steps, 20 steps, right in there, I don't know. But the action
Maybe
of
the
being...
Olam Haba is the part that's the exaggeration. Like, it's so good to live in Israel.
Oh, it's like, was that the next word you want to say? I hear. Or maybe it's literal.
Okay. You could be a terrible person and live in Israel.
But absolutely. And then you get kicked out. But absolutely. You're true. It's not a guarantee. Not a guarantee of Olam Haba. It's a potential though. All right. Good job. Shabbat Shalom. See you all on Tuesday.